This is Keeping It Real Fishing, and today I want to give you a first look at the Okuma Helios. This is a left-hand model. There's your part number right there. Now there's two, I guess, models for this. They haven't changed the name, so if you look at Okuma's site, you'll see Helios, and then you'll see a Helios 2013. And that's just their way of designating the new 2013 model, because there were a few changes. Namely, a left-handed model, and cosmetically, the outside is different. It's really just a different reel overall. This reel is based on the Komodo. From what I can tell, they're identical mechanically, aside from that the Komodo actually has two more ball bearings. So it's same price though, actually. So anyway, here's the box, and there's your capacities. And the left-hand model, I'm sorry, actually there's only two models. There's a right and a left-hand, only in this ratio. That's it. There's no slower ratios, faster ratios. It's just a right and a left in that ratio. So inside we have a little instruction manual. And it's interesting because it's not so much, it's a little bit on the reel, but it's more like in terms of setting it up, filling your reel with line, setting your drag. Talks a little bit about oil, which I found interesting actually, because we're talking about putting oil on things that I would typically associate to put grease on. So I'm going to double check that. Cast control mechanism, and I'll show you that in just a second. But the Helios, as with some of the other Okumos, it's a 6-pin centrifugal, but you have a little knob here that you rotate as opposed to pushing the pins individually. The bearings, they're kind of making a big deal out of this. They say they're high precision Japanese ABEC 5s. It is pretty smooth, particularly the spool. Like if you spin it, the free spool time. So they seem pretty decent. So your manual, and then a little parts breakdown sheet. Interestingly, the reel has a 3-year warranty, but they don't have a warranty card in here. So I guess you just keep your receipt and contact them if you ever have any problems. Normally manufacturers want you to register your product, but I'll just show you here. This is the Okuma catalog, and you can see down there, and this is online on their site as well, but the last bullet point, I guess one of the pros to it, if you're at all concerned, maybe some people maybe a little wary of Okuma, they're just used to the big names like Daiwa and Shimano, or even Luz, Quantum, you know, the usuals. I think Okuma is doing this on purpose, just to maybe get past some of those reservations, giving you that 3-year warranty. So just keep that in mind. And here's what you get. Didn't come in a bag or anything. I've since taken it out, but I'm just showing you how you get it. Wasn't in a bag. You don't get anything in here. There's no oil or anything. Okay, let's take a look at the reel. Guess I can get that out of the way. So right off the bat, and these are things that you could see online, but I'll just show you here in person. Pretty nice. You do have that carbon fiber handle where you could see the carbon fiber weave. One thing you notice between these reels and some of the higher end ones, when you look at like a real high end reel, like say some of the Daiwas, like a Daiwa Pixie, it's just like if you're anal about this stuff, and I certainly am not, but if you're really critical of like your reels, if you're an enthusiast, you can kind of see like the enamel here is like a little gloppy or whatever, and then on the side you don't actually see the striations going that way. Whereas on a Pixie, you'll see like all the layers. You might see like 30 layers of the carbon sandwiched together, and you could see all that little different layers of it. And it looks really nice if you ever have a chance to see one of those in person. It's, in terms of performance, no difference, but just aesthetics. So anyway, carbon fiber handle, and as you can see, the theme here is the green, obviously. I was looking at this in Cabela's, and one of the Cabela's guys was like, "Oh, that's the zombie killer reel." You know, just everything with this kind of lime green color now. And so you see that carry over to the ported spool. You have the green accents on the side and there, and from the front. It's a rather narrow spool. You can see that it's V'd out, has a V cut, but it's not that wide. This is a 100 size reel, so some people would look at that and, you know, call it a quote-unquote finesse reel. Maybe for a little bit lighter lures. Profile is small, the finish is a matte black. You see it has that kind of teardrop shape to it. There's the reel seat, or the foot. You have a line capacity thing there to remind you. If you're putting on 12, that helps you. And you have 9 ball bearings in this reel. Let's see what I can show you here. The thumb bar pushes from both sides, as opposed to, say, like a Shimano, which is just on the one side. This is similar to Daiwa's too. And it's actually got that centerpiece there is a rubber, and it's nice. It's real easy to push. It feels really good. Real positive engagement. Doesn't take too much effort. You can actually push it up. I don't know why you really want to, but you can also flick it back up. And let's see here. You can see all the little details there. You know, to emphasize the lightweight. By the way, this reel is 6.3 ounces, so it's definitely geared towards, you know, on that lightweight application. So even the carbon fiber is ported, and your star drag is ported. It's a real good looking reel. I mean, aesthetics are definitely part of this one. I mean, you have the green anodizing even within where they cut that little hole there. I mean, it's definitely a good looking reel. You're gonna notice this one. There's nothing else that really looks quite like it with that green, when you see it in the store. Star drag is clicking. Pretty positive feel to it. Feels pretty good. The cast control is not clicking. Okay. Just regular turning around. Let's see here if I can show you some of that spooling time. I'll get the spool loose here. There we go. It takes like almost no effort. Like, you could just barely... I'm just like barely touching it. It's so light that sometimes it even, like, you can see there it kind of rolls forward. That's the mark of a really, really slick bearing, is that when you push it one way, it'll kind of just, you know, go the other way a little bit too. Yeah, I mean, those are some pretty decent bearings. So let me give it a flick here. You could hear that something's touching in there. There's a little bit of, audibly you could hear something rubbing, so this could probably go even a little bit longer. But I haven't fished it yet, it's just out of the box, so, you know, gotta get some time on it to work things out. Let me show you the cast control system here. Now, something unique to the Okumas is there's no button or lever or pin or anything else you push out. There's a mechanism in there that just holds it on with tension. So what you do basically, and it's a little awkward now, it's a little tough. I'm sure this will get easier as I do it a few times. But you just have to kind of grab it as best you can, and what you want to do is grab what you can and kind of push it down. There you go. Okay, so there's your inside. This is this is an all aluminum reel, I forgot to mention. So one of the highlights of this reel is that it's lightweight, it's 6.3 ounces, but it's all metal. So both side plates are aluminum as well as the main frame. That's really one of the things that they tout, you know, because in a lot of other reels you have, you know, like Abu Garcia's or, you know, various manufacturers, they get really low weights, but they do it by using various carbons. And, you know, whatever your thoughts are on that, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but this is kind of unique in that it's all metal at 6.3 ounces for also the price point. This reel's $199. And I'll just throw in there also that they're kind of pushing this reel, I think through June maybe, they have a $30 rebate. So that brings it to $169. And then personally I had a $20 Cabela's Bucks coupon, and I also had a $50 gift card. So in the long run this is going to be a $99 reel for me, which is why I got it. But anyway, that's information that you don't really need to know. So here's your centrifugal system, and you can see that little red dot there on the 0. That marks where you're currently set to. It's very, very small. I wish they would have made that a little, I guess they can't really make it bigger, but maybe brighter or something. So to adjust this, you're going to have to hold the spool, because if you don't hold the spool, it's just going to want to kind of spin. You see, it's all one mechanism. So you hold the spool, and then you're going to rotate it. 1, 2, 3, etc. So you just grab these little gears on the outside, and that's it. One of the downsides here, different than the Shimano system, is that this plate's coming entirely off. So I guess you'd have to be careful. There's always a chance that, I guess you don't want to lose it overboard or anything like that. Show you the inside here. So this is a free-floating spool. You do have this end going out there. This end here obviously is where the spring tension knob, or the cast control knob, hits this to create that tension. But you can see that piece right there recede, and then when it does that, it's riding only on the bearing here and on the bearing there. Okay. So I actually have a scale here. I could give you a couple weights. Let's take a look at this spool. I haven't even weighed it yet. There we go. So you're looking at, that's in ounces there. So you're looking at right about a half an ounce, just a hair over half an ounce. We can look at, if you're a gram person, 16 grams. I'd like to show you also this little closer look at this cast control here, because it's something that I'm not too familiar with. So for example, if I put it to 1, and if you just kind of spin it to get the centrifugal brakes going, you're going to see one of them. Where is it? There it is on bottom. Now that one's flying out. If you go to 2, spin it, and you can see those 2 there as soon as I focus. So there's one there, and then one here, and so on and so forth. I mean, you go all the way up to 6, and now they're all out. So nothing revolutionary, same as the Shimano system essentially, although it's a little bit different. The Shimanos have that circular thing. There's going to be a different amount of surface area, because as you can see, these are very skinny. So I've heard some early reports that this thing casts really, really well, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but in the future I might make a video to let you know if it really is a good caster or not. Just wanted to show you that cast control system. Putting it on is the reverse. Oh, so here's that little mechanism. You see that little chrome thing there right at the tip of my thumb? That little nub there is spring loaded, so I can push this. It's really, it takes a lot of effort, which you want, but there's a high tension spring behind it. So I'm pushing it right now. And what ends up happening is that rides over this pin. So it'll like go against it and then compress. But there's a lot of tension in it, so if you're at all afraid of this thing perhaps coming off on its own, I can just about guarantee you now, tell you, having handled it, that that's pretty much impossible. I mean, it's really, when it snaps on there, it's on there. It ain't coming off. This is a very smooth reel. Now, there's a, let me weigh the reel here while I have this out, and then I'll get it out of the way. So the whole reel, claimed weight is 6.3. Let's see what it comes in at. Haven't actually done this yet. On the money. 6.3, you know, just a hair over, just a hair over. It's a very small reel at that 100 size. Okay, so my first impressions here, I mean, it's just out of the box, so it's not, don't just take this with a big grain of salt. But in terms of how the reel feels, I guess in comparison to the other reels that I have, I don't like a reel actually that's, I guess, too smooth. I just did some videos and I had some testing of like a loose BB1 and Alexa, and I actually didn't like the BB1 because it was so smooth, I couldn't feel any gears. It didn't actually feel like there was a mechanism or a mechanical device there. You feel nothing when you spin it. Some people may like that, you know, that's cool. Myself, I like to feel that little bit of gearing, that fact that I'm actually using, you know, a reel, a mechanical device. I've just played with some of the higher end Daiwas, and they have this awesome feeling where they're silky smooth, but you feel like you're interfacing with a reel. It's hard to describe. This one kind of balances that. It's really smooth. So do I have any brakes on there? I think I took all my brakes off. Just want to show you how much this thing spins. Yeah, no brakes. And that's pretty free. So yeah, I mean, this thing just really, with almost no effort, it just goes, man. I mean, there's your spool time, but then also this right here is like all the, how the gears are cut and how well they're lubed and everything. It's pretty nice. But mainly, like, when I'm doing this is the feel. It's extremely smooth, but you do have that feedback. You do have that nice precision feel of some mechanical feedback, ever so slightly coming through the handle. So I like that. I guess the one thing I don't like about this reel is these grips. Now they're EVA grips, and I do like the way they feel. I don't have any of the reels with these grips, but I do like them. I like the feel of EVA, but I don't like the shape of them. They're very blocky and chunky, and they are cut a little bit. You can see how they're cut out there, but they really feel square in your hand. They feel, in my opinion, they feel too thick in this dimension, and they just feel like a square. I wish that they were more squat, they were flattened here and a little bit wider here. I really, not even reels I've owned, but anything else I've ever held in the store, any manufacturer, I've never felt anything quite this blocky. So, I mean, it's not a huge deal, you know, when I pick it up and fish it, I'm really not thinking about that, but just initial impressions, it just feels different than most reels I've held before. And one last thing I'm just going to do is do a little quick size comparison to a reel that I think a lot of people are familiar with. So this is a Chronarch, aka the old Corrados, previous generation Corrados. You can kind of see the difference there. This is a 200 size and this is a 100 size. And you could definitely see a difference in the spool and just the overall size of the reel. Those 200 sizes are 200 sizes, you know, they're a bigger reel. So just something to keep in mind. If you think this is either maybe too small for you, or if maybe you have one of these and you want to get something a little smaller, a little lighter, that's where it stacks up in terms of a Shimano 200 size reel. Alright everybody, I think that's everything I wanted to show you. So this is the Okuma Helios baitcaster. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks.